So warmly welcome to the next session here, which we call Tapping into the Indian Aviation Market. And we will here discuss Swedish technology and solutions supporting India growth in connectivity and through sustainable but also cost-efficient solution in air traffic management and air operations. Very long title. Before I introduce to you this very, very esteemed panel, let me start by setting the context a little bit. So India is one of the fastest growing aviation market in the globe, and it really needs to assess the demand of the capacity expansion in many different projects, such as building new airports, adding new infrastructure to existing one, also improving operational efficiency, and optimization of the utilization in airspace, route optimization, and also adoption of innovative and digital sustainable technologies, all to achieve this. We know that today we have 150 plus airports working in India, and in the coming 2-3 years, we will see at least 50 to 60 more. Many of the major cities in India, such as Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai, already have and sees expansion of the first airport and are now seeing also expansion of a second one. Also, the government of India is enhancing regional connectivity and by that opening up more airports on regional basis. But will all these capacity getting added, we see a clear business case of enhancing capabilities within air operation and air traffic management, but also you doing that with sustainable and cost-efficient solutions. India operates in a very complex airport and airspace, majority of which is owned by the military and only about 20-25% by civil authority. And with this increased air traffic movement and also opening of the second airport in many cities, usage of drones for civilian application, it adds really to this complexity. And therefore, it requires air traffic management to be modernized. So in this context, I really would like to introduce to you this panel where we have Per Ahl, CEO of Digital Air Traffic Solutions at SAAB. We have Maria WALL-PETRINI, CEO for LFV Aviation Consulting. We have GAUTAM HARIHARAN, Director at Grintex. We also have GUILHERME BRITO from Heart Aerospace and RUDEBARK, Independent Business Group. So I would like to start by all of you just introducing yourself and what you do within air operation and air traffic management, very shortly. If you could keep it to 2 minutes, I would be very happy. You would like to start?
Yeah, hi. Thank you very much, Cecilia. My name is GAUTAM. I'm the director of Grintex in India. We have been providing technologies in the aviation sector for the last 2 decades, in terms of software engineering as well as, technical provisioning of services for entire envelope of air traffic management services from, the surveillance part of it, the communications part of it, navigation, including en route and approach, but also we have been associated in the GAGAN program, which is India's space-based, satellite-based augmentation system. So the entire envelope is covered. So with 2 decades of experience with some of the world's largest companies.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry about that. I don't know, was I heard or? Thank you. So, so we have been associated and of course with SAAB, almost 2 decades of experience as well, very successfully working in 10 airports in India with the latest technologies. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Per?
My name is Per Ahl, come from SAAB, not selling cars. Instead, we are selling air traffic management system. We also are an air navigation service provider like Airport Authority of India. Our small ANSP calls Digital Air Traffic Solution, and we operate 4 airports from our digital center in Sundsvall here in Sweden. So we are both the technology provider, but also an air navigation service provider, operational side. I feel very honored to be part of this panel discussion, as we also will look into the future with Heart Aerospace and what the LFV Aviation are doing, and also with the IBG. So I think we will have a very good look into the future as well, because digital tower is the part of a new infrastructure. We were the first in the world to get an operation approval together with LFE in 2015. We were the first in the world to create a center by interacting with different airports and so on. And I think that is a very, very interesting solution for the Indian market now with expansion. And we're working together with GAUTAM, our partner in India, very closely now, how we can support India in the future. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Per.
Thank you.
So, good morning, everybody. My name is Maria WALL-PETRINI. I'm the CEO of LFE Aviation Consulting, a consultancy company that was formed in 1984 and is a daughter company to LFV Air Navigation Services of Sweden. We signed a year ago an MOU with Airport Authority of India when it comes to both looking into the operational side, how it looks today, but also in the future. And I was very happy to hear Malin Petersson earlier from Vinnova discussing several projects that are ongoing between Sweden and India. And I'm really hopeful that it will be also some kind of research innovation project within the aviation sector in the future. So I think I stop there. Well, I can say also that we also have a center with 4 airports, remote tower. Thank you.
Guilherme Brito, Commercial Market Intelligence with Heart Aerospace. I don't know if everybody's aware, it's a startup which started in 2018 in Göteborg, Sweden. It's a company that started with 2 employees in 2018 and now counts with 200 people. We did a statistic before coming here. I wanted to know how many are from India. And 25% are from Sweden, mainly former Volvo or ecosystem of electrification in the city. The other 25 are Brazilians, mainly former Embraer employees like myself. And then the other 10% are from India. So India is representing a lot of our engineering powers there. Right. And our solution, it's a mission of decarbonizing aviation, a very bold goal. Our solution starts with a 30-seater regional aircraft. It's solely on batteries in the short ranges. But as we know, batteries are evolving, and these ranges can increase generation by generation of the batteries. But airlines want to fly longer, and also we must abide to the certifications. And then our aircraft has also turbo generators, which can be fueled by sustainable aviation fuel. So it's a hybrid aircraft that can fulfill both the carbon emissions goals, but also fulfill the airline's operations. Commercially wise, we have 250 orders from big marquee airlines like United Airlines, Air Canada, Mesa Airlines in the US, and Rockton, Swedish lessor, which provides solutions for aircraft operators who want to lease the aircraft instead of buying. And also 120 conditional orders, right? And another 100 from mainly Nordic operators. So not only us believing that this is the way to go, but several big airline names in the industry. And we are super eager to soon have an Indian airline among this very selective group.
Looking forward to hearing more about that a little bit later. Yeah, Ulf?
Hello everyone, Ulf Rudebark. I'm the CEO of Independent Business Group. It was a consultancy and infrastructure company that was formed 2007 already. And through the years we have done roughly around 90 plus airport programs where we have supported the airports to redesign the airspace to and from the airport. We also do a lot of efficiency measures on the ground from touchdown to gate and from gate to takeoff in order to shorten the time, reduce the fuel consumption and also lower the CO2 emissions. We have currently concluded a very large program in Qatar where we supported them for 3 years to prepare for the FIFA World Cup. It was a 1.36 million euro program and I think I will come back to that later during the speech. And of course we have a huge interest of India. Like always, I worked myself in India for 4 years and I see that that will be the coming decade for the aviation development. So I'm looking forward to the panel.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you all for presenting yourself. Now you have an idea of what we will definitely hear from today. But let me start with you, Maria. As we heard, you have worked a lot in India. You've also signed an MOU with AAI. So how do you see, AAI, by the way, Airport Authority of India is the equivalent to Luftfartsverket in Sweden. But how do you see future collaboration and how can you contribute to the aviation sector in India, and also what opportunities for this future cooperation do you see?
I see a lot of future cooperations with India. As you mentioned before, Cecilia, the Indian market is booming. The middle class is, well, it's growing and a lot of people want to travel by air. And a lot of airports is going to be built. As we speak today, I suppose there are an airport inaugurated. It's a lot of airports. And they need an airspace, of course. And I think we can cooperate when it comes to airspace. We work also together with IBG on that area. Airspace and procedure design, but also the civil-military integration. We heard before that most of the airspace in India is military. And as we in Sweden have been integrated since the 70s, we have a lot of experience from integrated airspace. So that's an area where I think that we can collaborate on. As Per mentioned also, the remote tower, we were first in the world, as you said, Per. We have a lot of experience from that side. So we can help out with pre-studies and things like that, and also implementation of remote tower. One other area that I think is very important that is safety. Safety is core for all air navigation service providers. And I have to brag a bit because we are actually quite good in safety. And I have one of my colleagues sitting down here who is actually also part of an innovation project when it comes to fatigue management. And I know that Airport Authority of India are quite keen on knowing more about that area. So, well, I think I'll stop there for the moment.
Well, thank you so much. To follow up with you, Per, what possible benefits do you see in the long run of using remote towers? And can you also specify some of the use cases in Indian context?
Then I have to have more than 2 minutes, if that's
No, you
okay.
can speak more than 2 minutes.
Okay.
Now you, no worries.
No, as we have a lot of experience here in Sweden, working together, SAAB and LFE, starting already in 2006. And finally, we got the first approved system in the world in 2015. And that experience is very important to roll out the program, like in India. And we had a lot of discussion with GAUTAM and his team that the expansion now in India, as we heard now, is massive. But don't do it in the old-fashioned way. Look into the future. And we have a good panel here that we can have a new infrastructure, what we call a new ecosystem. I think that is very important to look into the future and pave already now with the infrastructure to the future. We are already present, is it 10 airports now we're working together?
10 airports, yes.
So we have a quite good knowledge, and one very important element is to work with a partner in India to understand really the market and the networking and so on. But as I said, we have a lot of experience. I will say we are leading in the world now with a lot of different programs rolling out now, and that experience is very important to have in mind when we start a program in India, for instance. And that's why we have a workshop with our partner here this week, just to see how can we support each other in order to support also Airport Authority of India for the future. We have also a very interesting airport in the border of Norway and Sweden. It's a ski resort called Scandinavian Mountain. It's a greenfield airport, similar to what we're going to see here in India. But they didn't build a brick and mortar tower. They went directly into the digital world. So we provide a camera solution and run it from our center, approximately 600 kilometers away from the center. However, they need that kind of air traffic service between December and April, because that's the season when the people coming in and into the slopes and so on. We can provide that ATC on demand from December to April. And that has been an eye-opener that suddenly we can use this infrastructure at a certain period. And I know for sure there are airports in India that you don't need to have 12 months of a service, but maybe a half a year or whatever. Then this kind of solution can actually provide that service in a very, very safe manner. So there are so many things that we can provide and support India in this. It's like a Swedish smorgasbord, so Airport Authority have to pick and choose where to go. But it's very, very important to work with our colleagues and partner in Grintex.
Great, and I would, of course, like to leave the word with GAUTAM, but before we do that, I think, Ulf, you wanted to comment.
Just a short add-on to what Per already said. When Maria and I had the fortune during April to be part of a Minister of Infrastructure trip to India, and during our trip there, the message to us was that actually it was around 80 landing strips, today very basic in India, and the ambition was to convert at least half of them into small regional airports. And I think what Per just explained would be perfect for these kind of solutions on these smaller airports.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ulf. GAUTAM, we already heard you are partner with SAAB, but you also have a very long and extensive experience of working in the Indian aviation system. So where do you see the current bottlenecks, but also what possible steps are required to actually address this?
I would not call them exactly bottlenecks right now, because Prime Minister Modi has unleashed this aviation program today in India, which makes it, there's a lot of energy, like Ulf and Ori also mentioned. So there's tremendous energy. It's flown down all the way to every levels. So most of the bottlenecks, I would say, what we might have encountered in the earlier years, much of it, I would say, has kind of been taken care of because of the thrust from the government in terms of, India spending 98,000 crores. Now, that would be like 130 billion Swedish kroner, right? Minister announced this in June. And we all know that India is the fastest growing aviation market in the world, and the third largest by volume. So in every which way today, there is a lot of focus being given to this sector. But I could say it's some challenges instead of bottlenecks. So challenges basically now, I would say that, we all know India is a very cost-sensitive country. The whole world is vying towards India and trying to get a piece of this market. So how to find the right way in which we are able to meet the cost, I wouldn't call it a barrier, but I would say that, be creative in terms of meeting the cost. Now, Swedish technologies are some of the best in the world. Obviously, it comes to the cost, right? So I think it's a very important time, therefore, to see how Indian inputs and talent could be utilized in terms of cost reduction. We are working with SAAB very successfully, and that's, I think, way before the Make in India came, because we were trying to win RFPs, as I said, 10 airports. And all these airports had to be won, again, based on once you're technically qualified, then it's always the price, right? So we started working almost 10 years ahead of the time to see how we could make indigenous or leverage Indian engineering talent. Now, of course, Indian software, everybody knows it's some of the best. We are delivering a lot of software now for aviation requirements. So how do we leverage the Indian engineering STEM resources? India is the youngest population in the world, but also there's a lot of STEM talent, right? So how do we leverage this to bring down our pricing and still not compromise on the quality? This is, I think, definitely something which countries all over the world are looking at India towards. Make in India, while it's an enabler, because it's Prime Minister Modi's, again, the thrust is coming. The earlier chairman, Dr. Mohapatra, when he left AI, he became actually the head of the DIPP investment, which is primarily looking after Make in India. Unfortunately, he's passed away now. But there was a lot of thrust, and still there's a lot of thrust on Make in India. Now, Make in India comes with its challenges as well. Because today, in order to be, being selected, one of the major criteria in India, as we all know, is to have 50% plus indigenous content. Now, 50% plus indigenous content in a high technology domain, what we are talking about, that's a challenge. Because, it's just not, you cannot do it one day to the other, right? Then there are also the IP issues. So these are some of the challenges that we are trying to overcome right now and see how to deal with this. The Indian legal system is definitely very good. So that means there is quite a reasonable level of protection of IP. So this is something I think Swedish companies can really consider, that there is not that much of risk in even the IP issues in trying to work, because India has been having collaborations with global companies for years now. And there's not been many issues on IP to the best of our knowledge, right? So that is one area. Second thing now, post-COVID, we all know that there has been a big demand in the requirement of latest and greatest technologies in the aviation domain, right? So this itself has brought a lot of shortage of resources, actually, among international companies. So while it's a challenge on one side, but again, the solution is that India can provide the resources and, support Swedish companies with, development in India. If there is a shortage, let's say, of engineering and software resources today, globally caused by, the spurt of demand due to COVID. So this is what I would think
Thank you. And with that, I would like to ask you again, Per, the collaboration you have with Grintex, but also with the broader Team Sweden, how important is that for you to really succeed in India?
I will say 100%. It's very, very important to have the footprint, so to say, and the network, but also to understand how we should work in India. We can't send Swedes all the time by aircraft. It's useless. And that's why we have more and more intense discussion on how can we better support Grintex locally in India. And I think that's the way forward to successful.
And the same question for you, Maria, for LFV. You work a lot with us in Team Sweden, and how important is that and for you to succeed?
It's very important, and I think that's the key fact that we got this MOU is working together with you at Business Sweden. You made a tremendous job for us because, we are not local. We don't have a representative in India. So we lean quite hard on you to help us out. And we have actually not doing much business in India before. So that's also something that you have to learn the culture and you are there for us also when it comes to that, so that you don't go wrong anywhere. So I think it's very important.
Thank you.
Very important.
So Ulf, you have worked a lot in India, as we heard before, and you really understand the aviation ecosystem in India. What's your assessment? And can you also, I know you have done a huge project in Qatar. Can you relate that to this discussion?
Yes. First of all, also when Maria and I was there, we had the fortune to have a lunch with the CEO of Air India, Mr. Wilson. And he just at that time signed the agreement for almost 500 aircraft. I know also during the summer that Indigo has procured almost 500 aircraft as well. And for a Swede, that is of course basically much more than we already have in the whole country. So going down to that, when we talked to Mr. Wilson, was that the issue to fill it with customers was not the problem, he said. That will come since you have a growing middle class and people want to travel and you travel for work, etc. The problem and the challenge he saw is that, first of all, to find trained pilots, then, of course, the crew and the ground staff and maintenance support and everything that comes around this amount of aircraft, and also the increase in the traveling. Also going forward, coming into the area where I work together with LFE, and is that you have already now constraints in the airspace due to the military. Connecting it to what we did in Qatar was that in front of the FIFA World Cup, FIFA put demands on the hosting country that you need to have a certain capacity for taking all the audience that will come and look at the games. And especially during the final games, you also have a lot of maybe richer people like Messi and Zlatan that also goes there, but they come in private jets. So the demand they had was that the Hamad International should be able to handle 100 movements per hour, which means a start or landing, on 2 runways. And the capacity they had when we started the program was 70 movements per hour. Normally you build a 3rd runway, or you build maybe a 4th runway as well, but the time was not enough. So the only thing we could do was to review the airspace as such over the whole country. They also had huge constraints due to military. So what we did, that we brought in also experts from the military side, and retired Swedish 3-star general that is really good in these integrated airspace issues. And together with LFE, we solved and actually opened up a flexible use of the airspace between the middle and sea, which actually increased the efficiency on both sides. So that was really good. And then on the airport, we did a lot of measurements. Actually, it was around 32 parallel projects ongoing. So the end result of the 3-year work was that we, well in advance in front of the FIFA started, reached above the capacity they required. So we actually had 108 movements per hour on 2 runways 3-4 months before the FIFA started. And the FIFA, as you know, went fairly well from the organizer's perspective. Just to compare, I don't know the exact number, so maybe the expert here needs to support me. I think the maximum movements per hour at Arlanda is roughly around 40 movements per hour when they go up to peak hours. Is that correct?
No, it's 90.
90 now?
95. Yeah.
Okay, but then we...
Stretch it to 95.
Okay, then you're much more than I thought it was. But okay, 95, perfect, on 3 runways. And we succeeded with 108 on 2 runways. So I think it was a fairly good job done there.
Very, very much. And maybe also very needed in India. Maria, you want to?
No, actually, you can't. It's 2 parallel runways at Arlanda. The other runway is hard to use when you use one of the parallel.
If I can just do one add-on. Also, I think looking into India, of course you have an ambition to build a lot of new airports. But I think it's equally important actually to improve and make the current ones more efficient.
Yeah.
And there I think IBG can support a lot. And their ambition is that we actually should increase our activities there basically from now.
Interesting. Looking forward to seeing more of you there then. Heart Aerospace, one of the most sought after aviation companies, and also for the future to come, right? Your vision, as we heard before, is to electrify air regional travel. In India, we have heard that there is a lot of movements for the regional travel through very focused policy making but they use the existing aircrafts of today. So do you see a future for you in India?
Absolutely. It's a super interesting question. And I think it resonates with Ulf and Gautam were discussing. Well, there's a ton of potential, but if we look to the existing industry on the regional aviation today, on the US and here in Europe, it has some problems, which we call the 3 Cs. It's a problem of the carbon, it's a problem of the connectivity, and the cost. On the carbon, we call it, if you look at the emissions into 2050, it will triple. And we have these mandates of reducing carbon emissions. So we are providing a solution to mitigate that. The other C is connectivity. We all remember in the 80s and 90s on smaller regional airports where we had chances of flying to the big hubs with, say, 20, 30, 40 departures per day. And if we look at the majority of these airports today, they have no flight whatsoever. So these flights that they gradually were quit by the major airlines because of the increase of the operational costs that internal combustion engines have with fuel exposure and must be divided in only 30 or 40 or even 20 seats. So it's a major problem. And our third pillar is the C of costs. So our solution, which resonates of the cost sensitivity, right, is we aim to provide a solution that is a battery-powered ones, hence electricity. If you compare the fuel prices everywhere, there's fluctuations of anything that happens in the world has an impact on fuel price. This today. But imagine in the 20, 30, 40 years to come, there will be taxation, there will be several other issues that will make fuel even harder. In the opposite hand, electricity is getting more and more diversified, decentralized, and even better, greener. So our solution covers these 3 pillars on connectivity, cost, and carbon. So we think it's a really good solution for India. So having these airports that are built, let's fulfill them with sustainable aircraft.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yes.
Very interesting. So this will bring a completely new way of air travel. And how will that affect SAAB when it comes to remote travel towers?
I think in order to meet the demand like in India with all this airport, you have to have a new way of looking holistic and you have to centralize in a complete new way and that can be done through this kind of technology. Just as an example that we know Heart will fly 2028 is the target date, I think. And we have all the new EVTOLs or electrical taxis in the sky and so on. That will also be flying now in 2030 or whatever the time frame. And Aviation Week, they had a report a year ago looking just in UK, what kind of new route structure can these new vehicle in the sky produce. They come up with a number of 384 new routes only in UK. Because we need to look at this as a complete new transportation system, a new ecosystem. It has to be sustainable for the future. And that's why we need to have an infrastructure in place to control these small airports in a safe manner by 2028. So we need to roll out this digital air traffic service already now. So that will have a huge impact on SAAB and my small part of SAAB on the civil side, definitely.
And what do you say, Maria, for LFV? How will it really affect the air traffic controller?
It will affect the airspace. and the air traffic controllers, and you have to have new planning tools. We actually got a new assignment from the Swedish government to be the sole partner to do the flight planning for unmanned vehicles. It's coming up, and we are right now purchasing a system solution for this aim. And it will be different in the airspace with the electrical aircrafts, at the beginning at least, between, like city hoppers at the beginning, and also the UAVs and the conventional airlines. So there will be a lot of changes for air traffic controlling, definitely.
And lastly, Ulf, what do you say for you? Will it change anything for IBG?
Maybe not for I think we will focus a lot of supporting maybe the training going forward as well, because I think as Per and Maria is mentioning, this will put a total new landscape, and also with Heart Aerospace, if you increase the short-haul flights in a country, I think that's perfect for India, especially in areas where the ground infrastructure is maybe not so developed. And there I think Heart Aerospace has a huge role to play. And at the same time, if you go down to the ATC side and air traffic controllers, if you are an educated air traffic controller, you don't want to sit in a remote place, maybe have 3 or 4 landings a day. And it's not cost efficient either. So I think from a resource perspective, to digitalize and to centralize the air traffic control is the only way to go if you look to the actual growth of the aviation market in India. Otherwise, you will not succeed.
Thank you. So final question maybe for all of you. I want to start with the Heart Aerospace here. What support do you really require from Indian companies or airlines or private operators?
Well, as we discussed, the value proposition of an aircraft like ours is that it must be green, right? So it doesn't make sense of having a sustainable aircraft that burns on electricity produced by coal, for instance. So we are eager to contribute on an aircraft that has been fed by a grid that it's sustainable. On the airport side, we are seeing several airports which are investing in solar panels, solar farms, storage facilities with batteries for grid alleviation, and also chargers for this aircraft. This aircraft of our size, they rely upon ground infrastructure for charging the aircraft and also managing the thermal side of the charging. So we need airports to be ready for it when it comes to fruition, right, for these airlines. And on the airline side, we are seeing here that aviation happens in an ecosystem with every part does its own thing, right? For the government and airlines, there must be a support for the airlines who want to join this transition. So on a form of incentives, tax alleviations, some sort of incentive to there is this demand is latent, but a little push from all the parts involved, I think it's super helpful to start this movement.
Per, what do you say?
I think it's super important to have this collaboration, not only government to government and what we have in place here, because this is a new infrastructure. So it's maybe not only Airport Authority of India, it other infrastructure in place that has been looked into. For us, working with Gautam and his team in India is very, very important. But it's also, we have an open door policy in our center that whoever would like to come, please come and see, because to see is to believe what we are doing now with Digital Tower. Everything from unions to engineers and so on. And therefore, I encourage also that we have an engagement with the airlines, the pilots, and so on. So we can't do it by ourselves, but we can collectively do something for the future. So I think that's very, very important.
I think we have time for one last comment. Anyone? Ulf, Maria?
Yeah. So, sorry. Yeah. Oh, sorry, please.
No, just, I think it's important for Team Sweden to gather together, because if we're going to do something in the bigger picture in a huge market like India, I think that's essential to work together. And what do we need from the Indian side? An open discussion of the needs that they have. And we have started that discussion, but it goes quite slowly, unfortunately. You're allowed, Cecilia. But that's very important to start trusting each other. And I mean that takes time to build that trust, but we have to work on that one, I think. It's essential.
Yeah, I think Maria stole my words. This is where the problem lies, is the delay, you know. So I think much more proactive engagement from LFV, Business Sweden, with the Ministry of Civil Aviation would definitely help a lot to push these projects, because while UDAN is a big enabler, because, about 100 airports are going to be, the plan is to include that now. So if the biggest problem for airlines is currently they don't see feasibility because the number of flights are not there as many, right? Because these are all like underserved, unserved areas. So a little more, I think, engagement between say the ANSPs of international, LFE would be a perfect case here to push with the Indian government, Ministry of Civil Aviation, because you have already operated, say, digital towers in Sweden. You have a lot of experience. I remember we bought the teams from DGCA, Airport Authority, and Ministry of Civil Aviation almost about 7-8 years back to show the, the remote tower. So I think the certification authority, DGCA in India, also needs to be, safety is a very important issue. So they also need to be convinced that the new technologies, especially remote towers, could be the best solution for enabling the UDAN program. So therefore, I think more engagement from, NSPs like LFE, Business Sweden, with the Indian government. And then, as Gil mentioned, giving some incentives to airlines to come and start operating. Because otherwise, while all the policies are in place, but you still ultimately need the airlines to come and, start landing in, aircrafts over there. So I think it has to be a joint effort where this could help a lot if, there is more push from LFE, because you also have now MOU with Ministry of Civil Aviation, and involve DGCA in the entire process.
Absolutely.
So that the certification should not become a bottleneck.
Yeah, thank you so much.
You.
Ulf, did you want to end with something?
No, yeah, I can. As Per explained, to have a local partner and find a local partner, I think is really important in order for the long run to succeed, because you can't go back and forth every day. We have a really senior, good local rep, but he's maybe a single guy. So we need also to find, going forward, a local partner. And I think that's the next step for us. So I'm looking forward to it.
Great, good. So we can see that collaboration between our organizations, but also with local partners. And I think we also can add to that a long-term commitment. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you.